Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Susannah Birch, and today I'll be talking to you about the topic of promoting your event online. Now, this is a really, really important topic, and I always get so much interest when I run this because people know how to promote their events word of mouth or let friends know about them through certain channels such as a Facebook event. But there are so many other ways to get your event out there. And the problem with events, of course, is the fact that you need to get those numbers. Otherwise, you won't be able to fulfill your booking, you won't be able to pay your fees, and your event will just not be that fun if only a few people turn up. So today I'll be walking you through how to promote your event online. So, a little bit about me. I've been working in digital marketing or playing around in digital marketing since 2009. I kind of jumped in the deep end when it came to digital media and marketing. And that was because I started a social media page during the floods back in 2011, and it grew to 40,000 people in around 48 hours. So the best way to learn how not to do things on social media is, of course, have 40,000 people tell you every time you get things wrong. So that was a fantastic learning experience. I then went on to grow a website through social media and Pinterest and SEO up to around 500,000 views a month. So my happy place on the internet is making sure people see things and generating views, traffic, and attendees for events and pages and anything else out there where I can send them. So I've run somewhere around 50 events with people, by myself. There's a variety. I run a local WordPress night now, and I have also run a writers group for 10 years, and I've run events like this through Business Station, and before that I also ran different sessions on digital marketing training with another business I work with as well. So I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've learnt a lot along the way, and I've also learnt plenty of things not to do. So we'll be covering some of those things today. Now, I also have a background in journalism and marketing, but like everything in life, most of the things I now teach are based on personal experience. Although it's great to have the theory and understand how to do things that are going to work, sometimes you just need to get in there and get your hands dirty, and I like to do that and then pass on simple, quick and easy tips to do things without you having to read an entire textbook to come to the same conclusion. So why should you promote your events on the internet? Hopefully this is a little self-explanatory, but I'll look at some other reasons as well. So why? Online promotion can help you reach new audiences more easily. So it's great already having connections who know you, people who want to engage with you. That's fantastic. But the thing about marketing is you're trying to reach people who don't know who you are. Now, some things that I really like about online event promotion, number one is custom design tools. So things like booking platforms, Facebook event setups, LinkedIn event setups, they've got all these little tools that are specifically designed to promote your event, which means you don't have to pull something out of a hat and make it up as you go. You've got so many things there ready to help you. Now, another one is easier analytics. When you're promoting something through a newspaper or TV, or say your letterbox dropping, you've got to keep track of where things are coming from and how people are finding out about your event. And sometimes they're not always sure either. With online event promotion, you often get some really in-depth analytics, which means you can figure out what's working and what's not and use that information for your current event or for future events to get the best results for the least amount of work. Another one is faster ticketing. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to one of those events where they make you write down your details on a form or something like that, or have some kind of manual check-in option. The great thing about digital is there's a lot of automated options to make events easier, both for attendees and for people who are running the event. So you can keep track of the attendees, find out their information, contact them again in future. Lots of different options out there. And another big one, of course, is easier audience targeting. When you do a letterbox drop, for instance, or word of mouth, well, they can be tedious, or they can go for a widespread approach of, hey, look, we're trying to everyone. When it comes to online marketing, often you can be much more targeted, whether you're doing organic or paid. There are options both ways. For instance, when you're sharing an event into a group that's specifically designed around the topic that you're trying to promote, and there are lots of other ways as well. So here's just a few of the reasons that I love promoting events online, and I'm a big fan of it. If you're not already, you should absolutely jump in and have a go. So something we're going to look at only briefly, because this is a huge niche on its own when it comes to setup and so on, is online ticketing. So why should you use online ticketing instead of manual ticketing or something that involves you setting it all up yourself? Well, automated online ticketing just makes life easier for everyone involved. So less steps means more conversions. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're using a ticketing platform that people are familiar with, for instance, through Facebook you can book in, or Eventbrite, people are familiar with the platform, or they may already have their details saved there. Often people get overwhelmed when there are all these different options. They don't know what to press. They don't know where to go. So the easier you can make it for your attendees to become paying or even free attendees, the more likely people will sign up for that event. It's also easier to contact attendees before and after. So for instance, if you're running an Eventbrite ad, the really awesome thing about that is the fact that you can send out emails at any stage letting people know updates. So say you want them to bring along a certain item or do something before they attend your event, then it's easy enough to send out an email and let them all know. Same with follow-up after the event if you want them to take another action or even engage with a future event that you're running as well. So it's also easier to manage check-ins. So for instance, say you're running it through Facebook, it's easy for people to share the fact that they're checking in. And also when you're at the actual event, you can also check attendees in depending which platform you're using. There are a few options out there for that as well if you want all-around event automation. Now, more management and integration options when it comes to online events. All these different sites often integrate into each other. So for instance, you can run an Eventbrite event and it will integrate into Facebook. And you've got many options with the way payments work that you can integrate. Things like Rsvp can be used to integrate into, say, a mailing system, depending, and you can use those details in future for future events as well. And last but not least, you can segment with discount codes. So say, for instance, you're trying to figure out where your attendees are coming from. You can come up with discount codes on most event platforms where you can go, hey, this discount code is just for this event over here. Say you've got a market stall and you want to promote another upcoming event, you can go use this discount code. Or you can have a different discount code for, say, when you're giving out your business cards at networking events, things like that as well. So it gives them great opportunities that way. You might even do an email out and you use another discount code for that. And that way you can go, oh, look, so 10% of people sign up through email, but 50% signed up at my market stall. So again, it comes down to things like analytics, finding out the best way to promote your event so you can put more effort into that and minimize wasted effort when it comes to things where it's just not working. And we all want to know the best way that's working and the easiest way to do it. So a few tips around choosing an event management platform. There are lots of options out there. It can depend on your area as well. There's a lot of local ones. There's a lot of bigger ones. There's some that handle just general things like the event booking itself. There's some that can be integrated into even a POS system and allow you to do a whole range of different things around management, both at the event and before the event. So something to look at is if it's a free or paid event. Most booking platforms charge either a flat rate fee or a percentage fee or both. So if they're a free event, often you won't have to pay fees at all. So that may be something worth keeping in mind. The age of your demographic, where are they hanging out online? What things are they comfortable with using? Are they happy to use the QR code to check in, for instance? So look at the age of your demographic and see what kind of things they've got in terms of technology and how they work with events. Now, if you want to reuse your database, so for instance, if you want to be able to download the list of attendees so you can use it later for email marketing, access to funds. Now, some event management sites, one moment. There we go. Some event management sites do have funding management systems where you can get the money out after a certain point, or you may have to wait a certain amount of time, say 7 days, before you can withdraw the funds. So definitely another big one when it comes to funds is budget. How much are you willing to pay in terms of overheads for ticketing? And ease of use for both you and attendees, and Rsvp requirements. So things like, do you want to add certain questions into the event attendee sign up? Well, sites like Eventbrite allow you to add in those questions, while if you're running them through Facebook, you're going to be more limited in terms of getting payment and asking questions. So it's well worth looking at how much information do you need from attendees before they sign up. So those are just a few things to keep in mind when you're looking at choosing an event platform online. So just a quick look at some of the more popular platforms. So Toowoomba Tickets, I live in Toowoomba and we have a site called Toowoomba Tickets, and they do have higher fees than some platforms, but the great thing is they've got a great database, so they can actually send out email alerts letting people know in my local area that there is an upcoming event. So you can probably look wherever you are and see if there's a similar option for a local event platform that'll help you engage with locals. There's Facebook event ticketing. This can be more limited, but you can run Facebook events where they pay on Facebook as well. Eventbrite's probably one of the biggest and most popular, and one people are most familiar with. You've got TryBooking as well, which is another good alternative. And last but not least is your own website. So if you are running regular events, say monthly events, say they are ticketed events and you want some more management over them without the big fees, then you may want to look at options for running them through your own website. For instance, you can look at something like WooCommerce if you've got a WordPress website. And WooCommerce allows you to get an event plugin and run events through that as well and manage it all yourself. And the only fees you'll be paying are ones to either PayPal or Stripe, depending how you're taking payments on your website, instead of all the additional payments you might pay on larger third-party platforms. So that was a look at some of the options for online event ticketing, but let's go a little deeper into running the events themselves and how we can actually promote them and get those attendees. Now, big one is the event title. Now, the reason event titles are so important is because they're the first impression people get of the event, along with the cover photo or image that goes along with it. So you really want to summarize that event really well in that title. Now, as you can see here, there's all different things you can include in the event title, depending on who you're targeting and how specific you want to be. But you really need to make it easy for your perfect person, your perfect attendee, to figure out what the event is about and want to read more about it and get more information. So some things you can add into the event title, the topic of the event, the location or city, if it's one that you're trying to promote to a broader audience, say across the state, the month or year. This is really important for repeat events. The reason for that is often Facebook in particular is bad for this. You'll search for an event and it'll show you one from 2 years ago, but it won't show you the current event. So adding in the month or the year can be useful to make sure people are clicking on the right event and not the wrong one. Now, adding the business or organization name can be useful. Say, for instance, it's an event with Rsvp. That's a well-known business, so people would see that and automatically assume it was to do with animals or pets. So it's an opportunity to really help them niche down who you are based on that business or organization. The key demographic, for instance, is it a family fun day? Well, that is one that's obviously targeted to people with younger children, or children that want to get out the house and the kids want to have a run around, the parents want to have a relax and them enjoyable time. So if you use the word family, people automatically assume that kids are welcome at the event. Now, niche down on the details as well. Is there something particular about the event that you want people to understand or realize or be attracted to? So for instance, say you're running an event on first home buyers, you want to include the fact it's a first home buyers event in the event title, because that's a very specific niche and it's going to be able to help eliminate the attendees for whom it's not relevant. Now we are going to do a little 5-minute activity just to try out some of what I've just talked about. Now, we're going to take 5 minutes, and in the chat box, if you want to pop in any feedback about these events and any issues you see, or which events you think are really good and which events titles would grab your attention and make you want to turn up at that event. So we've had some really good responses in the chat here, including the fact that there's a few there that just don't explain what's going on. They're not explanatory at all, don't give you any details, just using acronyms, things like that, which is of course very bad. We've had a comment, Greenwood Park Bush Food Tour might be the most interesting event there as well. And the free small business 2FA workshop with Business Station is very, very explanatory, tells you exactly what it is, and that's free. So let's take a bit of a closer look at these different titles. So the first one on the list is TCEF. Now that's an acronym. No one knows what it means. People know what RSPCA is, but they don't know what TCEF is. So it's not going to help draw in any of your target market. Now, Aussie Training Day, well, that's very broad as well. What are they training you in? It sounds like it's sports event, but it could be a language event or a cultural festival as well. Is it training you how to be Aussie? Is it training Aussies how to do something else? It's very general and broad and doesn't really go in depth. Now, another one, Brisbane Vet Fundraiser Family Barbecue. That's really good. It's got the location. It says it's for vets or fundraising for vets. It describes what it is. It says it's a barbecue, so we know there's food. It mentions the word family, so we know kids are welcome. Next is member meeting. That is very generic and could be a member meeting for anything. It might be for a bank, it could be for a family fun day, it could be for just a group of friends who run an event together. So you really need to go in depth and point out what kind of member meeting it is. Crow's Nest Toy Truck Festival 2022. This is a great event title. It's got what it is, so we know it's about toys, we know the location, and we know it's a festival in 2022, so we know when it is, so it's this year. Another one is Chinese Language Center. Now, this is really bad because it's a location, not an event. It could be a launch, it could be an event where you learn Chinese, it could be a range of things, but it's not very clear. Greenwood Park Bush Food Tour is quite a good one because we know exactly what it is, we know the location, and honestly that would get a lot of people in because it's very specific and niche, so you know who you're targeting through that event title. And last but not least is free small business 2FA workshop with Business Station. Now I agree this is a great title because it says it's free and you know what it is and you know who it's with. My only issue with this one would be the fact that it's probably a little too long. So different sites will cut off after probably about halfway through that text. So if it is too long, you're going to want to put more of those details into the description, as opposed to the title. So on to the next one. Event information. So we've looked at titles and crafting a title that works well for your event. But once people have read the title, you need to give them more information because they go, hey, you've got me, you've hooked me, but I now need to know why I should make that purchasing or conversion decision and decide to sign up for your event. So number one is know your demographic. And I will keep saying this throughout the webinar, but it'll help inform how you're going to target them, how you're going to find them, how you're going to tell them about your event, how easy it is for them to sign up for the event, and so on. So same applies to the amount of information you provide. Now, too little or too much information can confuse or overwhelm people. And what I mean by that is if you've got one sentence, that's perfect. If all your target demographic know exactly what it's about and when and where. But if they're people who don't know you very well, they're going to read that one sentence and have tons and tons of questions. So you want to try and answer at least the most general questions about your event, if people are unlikely to know the answers to that. And that there are simple things that need to be included in event information, right down to things like if there's no toilets available nearby, or if there's going to be food on the day available, or if you need to pay extra for food after you've purchased a ticket. Simple things like that are worth having in the event information as well. So some key details that should be included in your event information. Number one, the big one, of course, is location and venue. So if, for instance, there are specific concerns around parking or how you actually find it, say it's part of a complex and it's a certain building, make sure you include that information somewhere so it's easy for people to find when they turn up and not to park in the wrong spot. Now, the time, date, and length are also important. Some of this information will be included depending on the platform, but it's good to reiterate how long the event itself goes for. And if there's events inside events, say for instance you're having an all-day festival, but there is a key speaker or a keynote and they're only going to be there for the first hour, and then perhaps there might be some performances and they only go for 2 hours. That kind of information can be added in as well, so people are aware if there's a certain time they'd like to turn up if they can't be at the festival all day. Now, basic list of activities, again, comes down to people want to know when things are and what is available. So whether it's food, performances, speakers, just a general overview of what they can expect. And of course, the cost of tickets and activities is important as well. Say you're having a free family fun day, but there are paid events or paid rides or paid games, and that's something you might want to include as well. If it is a ticketed event, say you're running a course and it's a $600 course for an all-day certification, you want to include what they receive for that money and the amount of money it's going to cost. So they immediately can go, okay, so that's an amount of money I'm willing to pay to get whatever I get at the end, or it's not something that suits me, because otherwise you'll get all these people asking you questions and they may not be your target demographic, and that's a waste of your time. You could be working on your business in other ways and getting the right customer who is your target demographic. So, event copy. When you're writing the copy, which is a fancy way of saying writing the description or words for an event or website, keep it simple and break it up really clearly as well. So here is one of the Toowoomba Writers events I run monthly in my town, and you can see I've really followed through on this list over on the left. So I've kept the key details near the top. So I've described what it is, when it is, where it is, and the cost. I've broken up content by having shorter paragraphs in between. I've highlighted key details at the top with capitals because Facebook doesn't give you a lot of options when it comes to making things clear other than text. And I've added less important details at the end. So right at the top is what people really want to know straight away to make that decision about coming. And then further down, I've got information like writers of all genres and experience levels welcome. So that's something that most people aren't going to find hugely important, but say someone's not sure about coming, that'll make them feel more welcome as well. So it's worth breaking up your content so it's easy for people to skim read. When someone comes to a giant wall of text, no matter where it is on the internet, they're going to immediately feel overwhelmed and less likely to read it all. So breaking it up makes it easy, especially with the most important information at the top, for people to skim read and immediately see what and where the major information is. So next step is looking at Facebook events. So we've come up with an event title. You've come up with essentially the layout of the event information, whether it's on Facebook or your website and so on. And sometimes they can be changed a little based on which platform you're promoting on. But Facebook is probably one of the major platforms where you can reach people. Now, this may vary based on your town. I know in my town, Facebook and Instagram are just where everyone hangs out. People don't use a lot of the other social media regularly. So let's take a look. Now, utilizing Facebook events is a fantastic way to reach people, but keep in mind that just because you have huge numbers on something doesn't mean that's going to convert into attendees. People may show an interest in something, but you've got to be able to push and give them that final little push into actually signing up for the event. Over on the left here are two events that I ran with two of my business partners on digital a few years ago. Now, as you can see, the first event had 148 people interested. Then the one that we ran 2 years later had only 24 people interested. Now, the funny thing about that, the first one, well, we only got about 10 people there. And even though there was 148 people interested, obviously they didn't convert the way we wanted them to because we were new in business. We didn't have the same reach as we would 2 years later. However, with just 24 people interested 2 years later, we managed to sell out and oversell. So we had 25 people in the room for 6 hours teaching them about digital marketing. So just keep in mind that just because people aren't interested, by clicking that button on Facebook doesn't mean they're not going to sign up. And just because you've got tons of numbers doesn't mean they're going to convert either. Now, here are a few tips for you when you're posting to Facebook. Number one, don't create events in private groups. Now, what do I mean by that? When you're setting up an event, there are a few different options. You can set it up from your personal profile. You can set it up from a public business page, or you can set it up inside a Facebook group. Now, the problem with setting it up in Facebook groups is if that's the way you set it up, you won't be able to share it outside the group and you won't be able to invite people outside the group. And I've actually seen events do this where they start a Facebook group and put the event inside, and that really limits the reach because people need to join the group to be able to find out about the event. So instead, always set up the event preferably from a Facebook business page. Then if you'd like, you can then share the link from that into a group later. Now, again, make your target demographic clear because that's something that'll help you when promoting into niche groups on Facebook. Duplicate events for more reach, and I'll show you some more about that in a minute. And post into the event itself. So there is a discussion tab on Facebook events. And on there, you can post updates into the event. The good thing about this is anyone who's clicked that interested or going button will get notified that you've posted an update into the event. So it's a good reminder. Often people click they're interested, but end up forgetting about the event or don't get around to buying tickets because they're not sure of dates yet. So having something that reminds them about the event as it gets closer is a great way to make sure they are going to sign up, probably in the last few days before the event, because of course people love waiting till the last minute. Now, duplicating events. This is a great little tip if you run regular events, or even if you don't, you can duplicate any event on Facebook. Now, the reason you want to do this is because, well, number one, it's an easy way to copy information so you don't have to put in all that content again. You can update or change any details. So it duplicates into a draft form, and then you can go and update the date, you can update the details, and you can update the location. But the reason it's really, really useful is it notifies previous event attendees. Now, what that means is they'll get a little notification on Facebook when you post a duplicated event. And that little notification will say, this event that you previously attended is running again. So if you've had people attend a previous event, then they're going to be told it's on again, which is very useful if they didn't end up going to the previous event because there was a conflict of schedules or something like that. So it's a good way to reach people who are interested previously. Now, another big one, and this applies to all platforms, but particularly Facebook when you're working with the newsfeed, having a great cover picture. I've seen some cover pictures which don't tell anything about the event. I've also seen some which tell way too much about the event because there's like 10 different pictures, it's a collage and a mishmash, and our brains just get overwhelmed with seeing all that information. So keep it simple, but be very clear in that event image with something that's going to grab their attention and be easy for them to go, hey, I want to know more about that event. So minimize the text. Don't have tons of text in there. You want to be able to grab people with an image and maybe 2 or 3 words, maybe a few more if relevant. Now, use 1 or 2 primary images. Don't have a whole collage because especially on mobile, all the images are going to be really small. And that means people are going to not be able to see all the key small details on the image if there are too many things going on. Sure, the images relate to your topic. Avoid content overload and things like stock images as well. Be careful using stock images because it can make it seem like the event is very generic and less personalized. If you've got an event where you're trying to engage with people based on who you are and the fact you're local, it's probably best if you've had a photo shoot or have any photos of yourself or your business, that would probably be the best option to use. And last but definitely not least, follow the design rules of 1 or 2 main brand colors and 1 or 2 brand fonts. So what this means is our little brains, first thing we notice is things like colors and fonts. So when you see red and white, you'll often think of a brand like Coca-Cola or Santa Claus, for instance. And when you see the Coca-Cola font, you always know that big swirly Coca-Cola. And that's because it's got brand awareness around those particular colors and fonts. And the same is for every business. Wherever you're posting online, whether it's Facebook, your website, or a cover image, you should try and integrate the same key colors and fonts every time, because every time someone sees those, they get reminded of who your business is. And that means they're less likely to ignore you because they think they don't know who you are. So try and always, even if you're using different images, always use the same colors and fonts across all your digital assets. So here's a quick example here from Eat Digital, one of my companies. And as you can see, we don't have a lot going on, but we're very clear with what they are. So at the top left, you've got email marketing, and you've got the little emails in the background. You've got the 3 of us, so you know that we're the ones running the event. You've got the Eat Digital logo, and you've also got the little emails in the background, and it's nice, attention grabbing. Your eyes go straight to the people in it. At the bottom right, there's a podcast workshop. You've got Ellen here in the photo. Not a lot of information overwhelm going on. You immediately have your eyes drawn to Ellen, and you immediately see that smile and go, oh, what's this about? And then you read the text. So keep them simple. Have 2 or 3 major key areas that your eyes drawn to. Have a little bit of text and keep it simple. Can't say that enough. So we are going to go back now that you've had a look at a few other areas, and I'd love to see you write a Facebook event title based on what we've discussed today. So we'll do a 5-minute break for that and pop them into the event chat. Happy to give some feedback. You can use real examples if you want. And at the end, I'll give you some feedback around which ones I think will work or some ways you can optimize them as well. Okay, so I see we've got some examples coming into the chat, which is fantastic, and I'll take a look and review them later. Now, next topic is LinkedIn events. So we've looked at Facebook events. LinkedIn is another great option as well, depending, of course, on your target demographic. So LinkedIn is great. It's got a few little features that Facebook doesn't have and vice versa. They both useful in their own little ways. As you can see here though, you get notifications when people are attending events, and those connections are a great way to inspire you to attend events, which is another great way to reach people who are on LinkedIn. So if you're not already, I highly recommend at least having a LinkedIn profile, preferably having a LinkedIn company page as well, even if you just post the same to it as you post to other platforms. Just having that presence is awesome as well, because you can slowly build it in the background. So LinkedIn events, you can run them through a page or through a personal profile page as well. So whether you want to do it as your business or as yourself, you've now got both options. So some key tips, as you saw in the previous slide, people can see when you're attending an event or when their friends and connections are attending events. So great way to go about promoting events on LinkedIn is invite key influencers, because they of course have tons of connections, so it's more likely that their connections will see that they're attending that event. Now you can post through personal or company page. I prefer company pages generally, but you can still invite your connections to it. Now, I think the cap is you can invite up to 1,000 people a week, whereas Facebook, you can invite up to 500 a week, although you've got to have quite a big network to cap that out every week. I only know this because I cap it out occasionally. Now, nominate key speakers. There is an option to invite the speakers at the event to be listed on the event itself for additional promotion. Now, you can also make use of the event chat. Now, what that means is anyone who clicked that they're interested in attending can be part of the group chat. They can ask questions, you can give them updates and so on, which is another great way to remind people about the upcoming event and engage with them. Say they haven't actually purchased a ticket, but they clicked on going, then it might be an opportunity to convert them into attendees. So LinkedIn events, they are probably only 2 or 3 years old, I think, but they are kind of coming into their own and getting some decent reach as well. So if you think your target demographic is on LinkedIn, it's probably worth thinking about at least setting up that event and inviting some of your connections. Now, LinkedIn is, these days, it's much like Facebook was 10 years ago. And it's kind of like Facebook, but without all the baby photos and the food photos. It's much more business focused, but it's also about personal development and learning about yourself and finding interesting connections who have the same professional interests as you. So if you're in any kind of personal development space, particularly, LinkedIn events can be a fantastic way to engage with people. So on to the next area, and this is advertising and syndication. Now, when it comes to promoting online, you can set up the event, but it's not going to just get attendees itself. You can invite all your connections or friends, but you want to reach a wider network than people who already know who you are. Now, number one, and one I find really useful, is Facebook groups. Now, there are a few different group formats you'll often see around events. So, for instance, here's one on the right that's Toowoomba events. And you can just search in your local city or area and see if there's anything with your business name, with your city name and the word events. There's often little groups where you can share content. Now, what's on? That's another terminology often used for Facebook group for events. And there's market groups. So say you're going to be at a market, it can be a way to promote your event as well if that aligns with the market community. Kids events, there are often separate groups for kids events and family-friendly events where you can promote if yours is. And last but not least is community notice boards, and that's another great place to promote your event. So it's worth going into Facebook groups, having a look around, seeing ones that align with your event and posting them into the group. Just don't go over the top posting them all the time. I know in this group that I run here, I have a rule that you can post your event once per week. Otherwise, people just go, I'm sick of seeing the same event over and over again in this group. Give them a variety. Now, another option is Meetup. Now, this is better for events that are going to be regular and ongoing, or when you're going to have multiple events attached to the same kind of niche. So what I mean by that, say you've got a monthly event that every month you have an accountability session for your clients, for instance, it might be a great one to put onto Meetup. Now, you do have to pay for Meetup to run a group, but it is a place where you can really attract niche demographics who will join the group and get notified for every event. So every month, if you have that regular event, they'll get notified about it, and that way they can keep updated on your upcoming events as well. So it's useful for growing your event audiences in those niches, building topical communities around your topic, and often it can be better in larger cities, or if you're doing virtual events, something online that you're not limited to a single location, and can be very useful for niche topics. So there's all sorts of people on there who have an interest. It could be in gaming or WordPress or meditation or bushwalking. There are lots of different little groups there where they just want to find their little community and their people and engage regularly at different events. So as you can see over here on the right, there's all sorts of different events that can be on the site. For instance, horse riding, autumn weekend. There's a free online meditation workshop, practicing public speaking, and Buy from the Bush Festival as well. And they've also got different attendees there, and you can join the groups to see future events for them as well. Now, some other options as well, event promotion websites. Now, big one is Google Business Profile, which is one that you run yourself. I would say if you don't have a Google Business Profile, formerly known as Google My Business, please leave this session and sign up for one today. They are amazing. If you don't have a website, they are one of the only ways that you can display in Google. And of course, people are Googling specifically the topic that you're probably trying to sell through your business. When it comes to social media, you can have some brand awareness around the topic, but people are there to engage with their friends, family, and certain interesting topics. On the other hand, when it comes to Google, people go to Google with a problem or looking for something specific. So make sure you've got your Google Business Profile set up. And there's also an option to add events under the post section to that. Another one is your regional council website. Most of them do have an event listing section, and you can list your event on there. Another one is probably also your local newspaper. Some of them include event sections where you can submit upcoming events. Now, Eventbrite, as we mentioned before, now it's something where you can use it for promotion as well, even if you're ticketing through another site. Sometimes you might want to pop it up on Eventbrite and raise some awareness, because people do search through there and they do suggest additional events to people on the site. Event Finder is a good site to list them. Queensland.com does have some event sections that you will have to submit to them and get approved, and niche event websites as well. So are you running an event around a certain topic? See what event websites are out there where you can promote to people specifically looking for that topic and looking for their community. So it's worth going through and seeing all these different sites and figuring out where you can list your event, because it will increase the reach that your event gets. Now, on to the next topic, and this is press releases. Now, a lot of people go, press releases, they can be really overwhelming. Well, the good news is that really it's just about knowing the right format. And even if you Google a press release and just have a look at the generic layout of them, often it is fairly easy to come up with. You're just explaining the event to people who don't understand it. You're putting it in layman's terms, giving them all the information they need, even if they don't know who you are from a bar of soap, to figure out all the details about the event. So yeah, press releases are sent to the media, and it gives you an opportunity to get the media talking about your event, which is a great source of free promotion, of course. So a few writing tips around press releases. Number one, the first sentence is the most important. You want to either grab attention or include all the relevant information about your event. That is most important. So if there is some kind of local slant, that can be fantastic, because especially if you're targeting local media outlets, many of them are most interested in local events happening nearby. So it's going to increase the chance they're going to publish you in the paper or feature you on the local news channel. Now, include quotes from key people. So instead of just going, here's all the information about the event, you can include a quote, say, from someone who's organising the event or someone who's a speaker at the event, and have them explain in their words why they think the event is important or why it's worthwhile attending. And last but not least, include a case study or story. The reason for this is otherwise it can be a bit bland where you're telling people something. Whereas if you've got an example or case study, say of a speaker who's attending or someone you've collaborated with or someone who's learnt something from a previous event, then you may want to include them and just give that local human interest slant to your story as well. So here is an example from a press release we did for eDigital for a workshop. And it was done around the Google Business Profile a few years ago. And we actually included someone we'd worked with before who'd started utilizing Google Business Profile and started to see an increase in reach. So instead of going, here's our event, learn how to do this thing, we went, here's someone who's already done it and had success with it. And what that meant was we got to tell a local story. And then at the end, we also got to promote our event and said, hey, by the way, we've got an upcoming event where you can learn more about doing what this person in the story did. So it's a good way to have that human interest angle. As you can see, there's also some sections of the story where we've done some quotes as well. So we've quoted from the person just to add that more conversational tone to the press release. So what do you do once you've actually written your press release? So of course, you may have this amazing press release, but if no one knows about it, they're not going to do anything with it. And that's why building your email list is so important for press releases. Now, there are quite a few ways to get in touch with journalists. You can get the email for the entire media outlet, or you can also identify a particular person who you can contact at the channel who has an interest in a certain section. So at the bottom right, for instance, there's a sports reporter who is on Twitter. And you've got Caitlin as well, who has an interest in country stories and regional stories. So if you have a story related to them, you would target them specifically. Now, there are a few different places to get their emails. Twitter and Facebook are both great because most journalists will actually mention their email on their profiles because they're always looking for new stories they can publish. And instead of having to come out and interview you about something, if you're sending a press release to them, you're essentially doing a lot of the work. You're answering all their questions, you're giving them quotes, you're making it easy for them to write and publish a story. So often when you send a media release to an outlet, there is a chance that they will actually publish it exactly as you wrote it. Or occasionally, they'll just change a few things and 75% of it will still be your content. So it is worth sending through those media releases to journalists, and they might not publish every single one you send through, but also raising that awareness and building that connection with local journalists. So essentially, the main reason that it's so useful is free promotion. Unlike paid outlets where you probably have to put in as much money as you're going to get out conversions, when it comes to the media, when you are seen in the newspaper, you can reach a huge new demographic. So some other sites as well, LinkedIn, contact pages for different outlets. So often you'll see people who have a listing on their contact page, either on their personal website for journalists or people who have newspaper outlets that have contact pages as well. MediaNet is another option, but it is a paid option. So if you're doing a larger event that is either probably something that's national or even statewide, you may want to look at MediaNet, which gives you an opportunity to send out press releases to a whole group of journalists based on whatever topic or location you're targeting. Yeah, and last but not least, see if you can network with local journalists as well. I know in my area in Toowoomba, we have a local journalist meetup, and often people who work regularly with the media or are often in stories for the media as experts, they will go along to chat with the journalists as well. And it's a good way to raise awareness that you're an expert in your niche and increase the chances that they're going to talk about you or even give you a call to ring up and get your opinion on a story and then publish it as well. So we are going to take a 5-minute coffee break, and then we'll come back and dive into the next topic as well. So see you in 5 minutes. All right, so welcome back everyone. I hope you've had a hot drink. I don't know about where you are, but here in Toowoomba, it's quite a rainy, cold, miserable day. Hopefully it's a bit warmer in your town if you're not here. Yeah. Anyway, next topic, let's dive back in. So a big one and a favorite one of mine is collaborating for success. Essentially tapping into other people's audiences and sharing your event that way. Now, collecting collaborators is a great way to run an event. Why? Because it means you can get them promoting the event for you. So it can be something like speakers, stall holders, other event organizers, whoever else is involved, giving them an opportunity to promote your event in the best way and with the easiest tools is a big bonus in my experience. So how do you utilize your collaborators? You've got some people you're working with for the event, or you've got special guests for your event. How do you actually help tap into their market? Now, number one, build a database. If you've got quite a few different people attending, you have some kind of email list where you can contact them all at once, either through something like MailerLite if it's requiring a larger, more organized list where you can track things, or even just a personal email from your email address itself. You can either BCC or CC people based on whether you want them to know about each other or not, and give them a chance to collaborate that way and give them some resources to promote the event for you. Now, number one thing, and this is huge for me because I've spoken at a lot of different events and collaborate with people at events, make sure you collect the correct details about collaborators. There's nothing worse than having someone message you with, hey, you spelled my name wrong, or hey, actually that's not the name of my business, that's my old business, because you Googled it instead of actually asking me. So make sure that when you're collaborating, you get all the information you need. So that could even be something like getting a professional photo from them, making sure you grab a bio from them so you have an overview of who they are in their own words, and just anything that's relevant to promoting them as part of your event. Now, stay in touch with event updates. Another thing is when you're a speaker and you hear nothing about the event till like 2 or 3 days before, and suddenly you've got all this information about, we want you to promote the event, we want you to speak about this, we want you to do this, we want you to turn up at this time. Give them some heads up, give them some time to be prepared for the event. If there's anything special they need to do or book or plan ahead or be prepared for, or accommodation, anything like that, make sure you keep your collaborators in the loop. And send out some social media ready digital content, because again, when it comes to things like colors and styles and fonts, you want to make sure that they're all cohesive and they all tell the same message. So if everyone is promoting the event in their own way with their own styles and designs, it's not going to be as cohesive. So over on the right hand side of this screen, you can see an example of a graphic that you could send out to your speakers. You can include your event name at the top, you can include your guest name, you can include a photo of them, and then you can have a short bio at the bottom. Now, the great thing about this is if you use a tool like Canva, you can just change each one and send them out to everyone. So you've got something that's personalized to each collaborator, but at the same time, they're going to be using the same colors and brandings and styles. So anyone who sees them immediately recognizes they're part of your event, as opposed to ending up with all these different mishmashes of content from different collaborators. And again, make it personalized. So instead of going, hey, here's a little promo for the event, go, hey, we made a promo which features you and information about you so you can promote yourself and the event at the same time. And last but definitely not least, you can add people as a co-host on Facebook events. You can add them as a speaker on LinkedIn. There's lots of options to make them part of the event itself and reach their audiences as well. I know, here's a quick tip. I know that on Facebook, when I add someone as a co-host, I usually do it in the evening. The reason for that, between 6 and 9 p.m. of an evening is when most people are online. So adding them as a co-host then means more people will see the event come up in their feed. And another one, sometimes you can also tag their profiles or pages when you're doing an update on social media so that they're notified about it, and also people can engage with them on their brand pages as well. So there's a few tips anyway around working with collaborators. Definitely tap into that, because there are so many opportunities when you're working with people who are working in the same event as you to reach a whole new demographic. So next step, we've talked about collaborators, but what about the lead up? You can also use them to help maintain anticipation, because obviously if you're promoting an event and it's 2 months out or a year out, you want to actually keep people engaged. You don't want them to forget about it completely. So a few things for maintaining interest. Create some content breadcrumbs. Now, what I mean by this is you don't need to be posting all the time if the event's quite a while away, but you can do things like live videos, you can do interviews, you run competitions, you can post things at nearer the end date about limited tickets, you can do little bios of speakers or collaborators, you can do photos of food trucks that are coming, different things like that. So essentially, instead of just going, oi, come to my event, you can give people little looks into what's going to happen at the event. Get them excited again, get them anticipating the event, get them going, oh, this is a thing I really want to attend. So you don't have to do it all the time. In the lead up to the event, it might be once or twice a week. You can post into the discussion tab on events themselves, or of course you can post onto your business pages that are related to the event, just getting people a bit hyped and excited for your upcoming event. Now, another one, of course, is email marketing. Now, with email marketing, it's great to have an email list, because then you can engage with people who already know you and send them reminders about things, because a lot of people go, email marketing's dead, but it's really not. It's just something where a lot of people are very clear in what they want to receive, and they don't want to receive 100 emails, but the 5 emails they do get, if you think about it, there are certain shops or certain businesses that you look forward to hearing from. And so building an email list is about becoming one of those businesses that people want to hear from and listen to and engage with. So yeah, something I always remind clients I work with is the fact that you only own 2 digital assets. You own your website and you own your email list. Everything else you don't have that much control over. Facebook could close down your business page tomorrow. Instagram could change their algorithms again tomorrow, and they recently have. Now, photos on Instagram don't work half as well as reels or videos, so you don't really have a lot of control over the content or how it works on those platforms, but you do have a lot more control over your website and your email list. So if you haven't already, make sure you have both of those and you're optimizing and priming and using them to promote your business and building them as well. So with email marketing, set a reminder to save the date. So that can be a few weeks out, and then send reminders a week of, because of course people always leave event ticketing to the last minute. Oops, I forgot to sign up for that. It's 2 days away. And make it easy to click and register. So you can add a sign up button at the top of the email, and you can add one at the bottom. So people who are interested straight away can sign up straight away. Those who want to read all the content and find out about the event can wait till the end as well. So again, it comes down to making it as simple, quick, and easy as possible for attendees to sign up and convert and get to that event. Another one, and I love this, well, hello, I'm on a live video right now, I guess. Yeah, but live videos are a great way of promoting events as well. And you don't need to make them specifically about the event exactly as it stands. You don't need to steal content from the event. You can come up with other things which promote the event in new ways. So here is a video I did with someone called Angela from a local co-working space, probably a few months ago now, 14th of June. There we go. Yeah. And what I did, instead of talking about how to promote your event online, which is what we're doing today, I actually went the other way and I talked to her about the different ways you should not promote your event. And there are a few of those as well. So I kind of spun the topic on its head and got people talking about issues that they have around events that actually annoy people. So Ange is someone who's run tons of events for the local co-working space. So we had a good chat about that. Now, little case study, Brendan Golby. So Brendan Golby is a local networker and LinkedIn guru who absolutely loves running networking events. Now, he has been running them all for quite a few years now, I think 5 or 6 perhaps. And he's also done events around Australia as well for networking and promotion of different speakers in the business area. So some great things about Brendan is he doesn't do all the things I've listed here, and he does some things that I haven't listed here. So the great thing about Brendan is he's tried lots of things and he's seen what's worked and he's stuck with them and he keeps using the same formula because he knows it works. So for Brendan, a big thing is building a database. So he has a huge list of people who've attended previous events who he can get in touch with. He also has a huge LinkedIn network who he also messages or invites to events and gets them engaging with future events as well. He primarily uses SMS and emails to promote his events. So in the lead up to the event, you'll get an SMS once you've booked your tickets. You'll get an SMS reminding you to turn up to the event. If you've been to a previous event, you'll get an SMS letting you know there's another event coming up, so you can sign up for that if you hadn't heard about it. And emails as well. So you get emails including a list of the attendees, which is another great reason people attend these events. Great way to engage and connect. And he also uses his LinkedIn and personal Facebook to promote events as well, but he runs them as a very business-oriented thing. So most of his friends on Facebook, for instance, are people he's met through business networking. And so he pushes out content, as you can see on the screen, to get people engaging, signing up. And of course, as you can see from the photo, they usually sell out events. So people already know that he's offering repeat value. And with that repeat value, you've really got all those people who immediately know who he is and know he runs great events. So that's an important thing with events. If you keep delivering great value, people will want to keep coming back, or they'll tell their friends about them, and you can tap into that word of mouth as well. So we've talked about all these different ways of marketing, but when should you do it? Should you do it in the last week, or should you do it months ahead? Well, that is the question, isn't it? So I'm not going to go, you should always promote your events in this way or that way. It is going to vary based on a lot of factors. So your audience, for instance, how engaged they are. For instance, if it's a small audience and they know exactly what your event is about and they really love your type of event, it might be something where you don't have to push it as hard or as far ahead. How many tickets you have, like if it's a ticketed event with 10 people, it's going to be way easier to promote and require less than, say, 200 people. So you've got to take that into consideration, the lead time before you want to sell out. How many other events you're promoting simultaneously? Is this a once-off event, or is it a regular event, or is it a weekly event? So you can look at it from a strategy point of view of we're promoting the event series as a whole, as opposed to this one upcoming event. When do you need to RSVP and have numbers in by? So if you're doing something that's catered, you might need to have your stats in 7 days ahead. You might need all your bookings done as well. So it is worth sitting down and thinking about, okay, based on my numbers and the people I'm targeting, how far ahead should I be planning this? And it can be good to err on the side of caution and go, hey, I'm going to give it an extra week or 2 head start lead time, so I can actually make sure I fill those seats that I'm looking to fill for my event. So here we go. Here is a general overview. This, of course, can be stretched or shrunk based on your type of event. As I just explained, it's going to vary based on you and the number of attendees and Rsvps. But around 6 weeks out, I generally launch the event and invite connections. The reason I invite connections first is because that way it makes it look like your event is popular. If it says 0 people are interested, well, it's not going to really get the same attention as if at least 10 of your friends have actually clicked interested or going on the event. 5 weeks out, I list the event on directories and different event ticketing sites or event promotion sites. As we discussed earlier, there's lots of different options out there. So they've got time to mature and get suggested to other people on the site. Posting the event in social media groups. So Facebook groups in particular. You can also post to LinkedIn groups as well. It's a great opportunity to let people know to plan ahead. Most people you'll find have actually booked up their weekends and sometimes their weekdays or weeknights, often weeks ahead. So giving them 5 or 6 weeks lead time gives them an opportunity to make sure they've got availability for your event. If you're promoting it the week before, there's a good chance they've already got plans, especially if they're an extrovert like me. And around 4 weeks ahead, email out collaborator content. Get your collaborators or speakers or even attendees, if they're special guests, to start talking about the event. Send them content that they can use to promote you as well. And send out an email marketing campaign if you've got an email list. Now, around the 3-week mark, I start doing content breadcrumbs. So that's things like interviews, posting information about the speakers or collaborators, promote using a video, either a pre-recorded one or a live one. Live videos are fantastic because their algorithms like them because they're current, ongoing, fresh content. So if you are up to doing a live, definitely do one. A lot of people I talk to go, oh, I hate being in front of the camera and talking live and looking at my own face. And that can be scary. So something a lot of people find works really well is do an interview style. So what that means is you can either sit side by side or you can use something like Zoom to do a chat online. And if you go, I don't know what to say, I've run out of words, you've got the other person there who can ask you a question or give you a little prompt or help you actually bring up the conversation as well. So if you do get a chance, videos are a great way to promote your event. Now, around the 2-week mark, that's when I send out a press release. The media generally, well, they're not planning far ahead when it comes to some stories, things like events coming up, because their readers don't want to plan far ahead for those kind of things unless they're a huge, say it's a festival and everyone's booking like a year ahead and everyone knows it's an upcoming event in 6 to 12 months. That's going to be different. But if it's a smaller event, generally around the 2-week mark is good. So they've got enough notice to figure out when they want to promote it. And then repost it into those social media groups. So you're 1 week out. Hopefully people saw your first post at around 5 or 6 weeks and they went, oh, my calendar's clear for that date. But for people who missed it, it gives you another opportunity to go, hey, last minute tickets, we're nearly sold out. We're coming up to the event in a week. Don't forget to sign up for your tickets. And 1 week out, if you've got lower numbers than you'd like, it might be an opportunity to run a competition. Now, just a note on competitions, most platforms have rules around how you can run them. So Facebook, for instance, you need to post a disclaimer and you're not allowed to ask people to share content and you're not allowed to tag people, I believe it is at the moment. So make sure you just do a quick Google and see what the rules are around the platform where you're doing the competition. So instead, you might do something like, we're giving away 2 free tickets. All you have to do is answer this question related to our niche, and then you'll pick one of the people who answered the question to get the free tickets. It could be something like, tell us your #1 reason that you think you should attend our event, something nice and easy. And then you can really see who wants to engage and who's most interested in attending and why, which is a great opportunity for market research as well. And of course, final big push, do your social media content, do another video, do anything you can to get those final numbers in that last week. So that is an overview anyway of the kind of timeline I use when I'm promoting an event, trying to get butts on seats. But of course, it can vary based on your event and who you are, who your demographic is, and so on. So that has brought us to the end of the webinar, but I will be sticking around for questions, and we'll also review some of the content we talked about in terms of titles and event information and so on. However, if you haven't already, it's well worth signing up for the Business Station program. I know some people here are already part of it, but if you're not, it gives you an opportunity for $44 to get 7 hours of digital mentoring in a range of topics, including cybersecurity, digital marketing, using small business software, accounting, strategy, all sorts of different things. So if you haven't already, it's well worth checking that out. You can find out more at businessstation.com.au. Anyway, that is the end of our event, and feel free to ask any questions. You can take yourself off mute, or you can pop them into the chat as well. While you come up with some questions, I will have a look through the chat and see if there's anything interesting we can pinpoint there as well. So thank you everyone who attended, and to everyone who's watching the recording after, feel free to contact me on social media if you have some follow-up questions about what we discussed in the webinar. And I'll finish the recording now. Thank you.